The ICC Men's T20 World Cup has started, and it has started with a cracker of a game between Namibia and Sri Lanka, where Namibia ultimately came out on top, beating Sri Lanka by a relatively large margin of 55 runs. So this game really defined the term World Cup because it showed us that this tournament is not just for the big boys like India, England, Australia, New Zealand, etc. This tournament also provides a platform for the smaller associate nations like Namibia to come out and show that they also play quality cricket, that they are also a quality cricketing side, and that they also can challenge teams like Sri Lanka and the big teams out there who are already established on the international stage. So it's great to see associate nations coming out and actually climbing up the ranks of international cricket. Ultimately, when Namibia won, what this immediately reminded me of was when Bangladesh beat England in the 2015 World Cup to qualify for the quarterfinals of that World Cup. So we've seen a lot of associate nation stories such as what we saw today with Namibia beating Sri Lanka, and also the way we've seen Afghan cricket rise up the ranks despite all the challenging circumstances. So firstly, let's look at why this is an iconic event for Namibian cricket. Because one thing that I really wanted to mention was the fact that Namibia weren't over-reliant on their big players like an Erasmus or a David Wieser. Because in the last World Cup, when they qualified, which itself was a big thing for them, they were heavily reliant on someone like a David Wieser, who had a lot of international experience playing for South Africa as well, previously playing in leagues around the world. So they were quite dependent on him, and the other players really didn't chip in as much as you would expect from a quality international side. But this time around, in this specific game, we could see that all their players really did chip in and actually alter the course of the game. So it was great to see, because you need those players to absorb the knowledge from players like a David Wieser and actually apply it into their own game and help Namibia or whatever side they are to actually climb up the ranks and actually become a force to reckon with. So that was one great thing to see, and it's really promising to see the way Namibian cricket is rising from qualifying for the last World Cup to coming out and beating Sri Lanka in the first game of the tournament itself, and therefore it will provide them with a lot of confidence and a lot of morale boost to go on to the next stage of the tournament and actually challenge the relatively bigger nations like India, Australia, England, and whatnot. But from a Sri Lankan point of view, this will be a devastating loss, because they're coming into this tournament with a lot of confidence, with a lot of morale boost, understanding the fact that they beat teams like Pakistan and India to ultimately go on and win the Asia Cup, which is just second to something like a World Cup on the international cricket scale. And therefore, they came into this tournament with a lot of promise, and even some believe that they were favourites to go on and win the World Cup, and therefore this loss will be a huge would be quite devastating for them, understanding the kind of confidence and the kind of promise they came into the tournament with. And also they've got the injury of Dilshan Madhushankar, who would have provided that left arm aspect for them in these Australian conditions especially. So Sri Lanka have a few questions to deal with, but they would try to improve on their mistakes, because I still don't think there are major problems in their side. Today was a bad day, and you would expect that in T20 cricket they still have a quality side that is capable of progressing to the next stage of the tournament, and even has a chance of still going on and ultimately lifting the trophies. Therefore, I don't think Sri Lanka should be totally pulled back with the kind of cricket they've played over the last few months, but this should propel them forward to understand the fact that every day is not your day in international cricket, and these kind of things happen, and therefore they should take this on a positive note and try to improve on their game and progress to the latter part of the tournament. But this is a great day of history for Namibian cricket and for cricket as a whole, because you want to see these associate nations rise up the ranks and actually become a force to reckon with, and therefore this game will be remembered for years to come, for World Cups to come, and therefore let's hope that this is just a glimpse of what we have lined up in the World Cup ahead for the next 1.5 months.